Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with yet another brand new Haolonggood release, and yes, we've got ourselves another sauropod, which is really exciting. We have the Camarasaurus in 1/35th scale, and this one particularly is exciting for me because, my favorite sauropod when I was younger was always Camarasaurus. There was just something that I really loved about this sauropod, just the overall appearance to it was so unique and so different from so many others. I was always really drawn to it, so I'm very excited to have this one here and to have again a chance to check this one out from Haolonggood and add a new Camarasaurus to my collection, as there aren't all that many out there. But you can see the box art basically shows us the skeletal reconstruction of the Camarasaurus, and then if we turn it around and take a look at the opposite side, you basically have now the green version over here. And if you take a look up here at the top, you can see kind of almost like a small checklist showing off some other figures that Haolonggood has out. Quite a few when it comes to the sauropods, but definitely, again, more incredible releases from them. So, without further ado, let's pop this box open and check it out. So there we are. We've got both of them out. Now, standing here, obviously, I acquired both paint variants, which I often do most times when it comes to Haolonggood. And, here, first impressions, honestly, they are great. Absolutely. Already, I would say the best Camarasaurus that I have in my collection, especially as far as, like, the realism of the application of paint and everything. Like, it just looks super lifelike and realistic here, which is a huge plus for these figures. It's also the largest Camarasaurus that I have, which again, I don't have all that many because there just aren't that many models out for it, but definitely a really nice, very impressively sized version as well. So without further ado, let's jump to a closer look and check them out from there. So we'll begin with this version, and you can see this is probably what I would say is my favorite of the two. I think at this point I would safely say this is my favorite, but you can see we've got quite a bit of variation of color here in the face. You've got all sorts of different tones of color with different shades of browns and lighter tones, even like a light off-white or like a tan right there. Darker browns in the eye area kind of following along the jawline. They also have actually a little bit of pink coloration there on the inside of the mouth because the mouth is just ever so slightly sort of shown there. If we get a nice angle, you can kind of see how you can sort of see the inside of the mouth, and they've done a really good job of highlighting that. You can also see the nostrils, and they've applied a nice dark wash to the face of the figure, which is also really good. We are back to the blue eyes, pretty much a trademark of Haolonggood. You can also see a nice black pupil, and it does have a nice realistic gloss coat there to help give it a bit of a realistic eye shine. And as per usual, lots of color on this. You can see almost like purplish tones moving down along the top of the head, following along the spinal column. You have like some orangish tones here on the side of the neck, and then as you move down, you can almost see a light hint of like a yellowish tone. Then you've got tans. Everything is really nice dark wash as well, just tying it all together very nicely. We can see the ear sculpted out there. The dinosaur does have a slight turn to the head, which you can see right there. A nice, almost like a little bit of like a head tilt going on. We have some ridges picking up here following along the back of the neck of the dinosaur. As you lead down, you can see those are also painted with a different variation of color, and the scale detail looks great on this. We also have a striping effect, a really subtle striping effect moving down through the course of the neck, looking like it's, I think, maybe either a variation of a brown or maybe more of that dark purplish tone, but kind of looks more like a brown. But as you continue to lead down, you can see all kinds of really nice scale detail. You can also see, again, the throat of the dinosaur as we move down through the course of the underside of the neck. Nice light tones. Again, the scales popping really, really nicely, very impressively, thanks to that dark wash. You can see that orangish tone moving along the back of the neck becoming even more impressive, I think, as you move down. But then it does start to taper away, and the course of the body is like a much darker tone of color as you lead down. You have like a very dark variation of a brown. We continue to have that dark wash present though, and you can even see other variations of browns, like darker browns kind of patterning through certain areas. You've got a nice little cluster of skin wrinkles and folds and stuff here at the bottom of the neck. As you move down into the leg, you have more skin wrinkles and stuff even in the joint of the elbow. You can see the elbow there, and again, really smooth transitioning between the lighter tone of the back of the leg and then the brownish tones of the majority of the leg. You've got that striping effect moving down through the course of the leg as well, and as you move down, you have like a kind of a dark purplish tone for the feet, which is pretty impressive. You can see the nails are sculpted out. I think we have a better view of this nail. There we go. You You can see the nails sculpted out, painted with a very dark grayish tone, or a black, I would say, potentially. But it looks really nice. As you move up, you can see again, the stomach has a little bit of a lighter tone right here. The dark wash continues to make all of that detail pop. You have all kinds of skin wrinkles and folds and stuff. The skin stretching off of the stomach and the back of the leg here as the back leg kind of stretches out, stretching that skin right there. Good bit of girth in the stomach, helping to give it, a nice healthy look, a pretty well-fed look. We could see the shoulder blade and everything there protruding from the skin. You continue to see that very subtle striping effect moving down along the back of the dinosaur. The ridges continue on as well. You can see they did taper off very briefly, but then pick back up and actually increase in size. Not larger than we see up there, and it's not focusing. You can see they're definitely at their largest point up there on the back of the neck, but still pretty decently sized. Focus camera, there we go. Pretty decently sized as you move along the back. You've got some nice clusters of large osteoderm-like scales as well. You can see the hip bone right there, and then as you move down into the rear leg, you see more of that dark brown patterning showing up. Again, a really smooth transition to the lighter tone of the back of the leg. You've got more wrinkling increasing there in the joint of the knee. You can see the knee right there, a darker tone kind of following along the front of the leg. And again, we transition to the purplish tones of the feet. You can see the toes sculpted out, as well as the nails, again painted with that, looks like a black to me, painted with that black tone. And then we move up, you've got a few more creases and stuff right back here because the leg is kind of pushing back. It would definitely be creasing the skin right there. As we lead out, you can see the coloration lighten a little bit to a little bit of a lighter purple. Moving back, you see the striping as well, kind of have like a purplish tone to it along with a brown, and then we transition to a lighter tone here and then transition to a blue as you lead out toward the tip of the tail, which looks really cool. We end the tail with a nice black tip. You can see some more patterning and striping through. Moving along the underside, we've even got like some slight pinkish tones showing up here and there. You can see the cloaca is present, and that as well has a little bit of a pinkish tone applied to it, which is pretty cool. Again, moving along the underside, you see more of those pinks kind of showing up sporadically, as well as again a light tone and a nice dark wash, again tying it all together, giving the dinosaur a bit of like a dirty but very realistic look. And then if we turn our Camarasaurus around and you take a look at the head on the opposing side, you can see that it looks gorgeous just as it did on the first side. He has kind of a grumpy, yeah, maybe this would be the girl. She has kind of a grumpy look to her face here. She just looks very, very sauropod-like, I guess you could say. And I absolutely enjoy that look. But you can see moving down, again, the same type of paintwork, very smooth, very natural application of the paint, and the dark wash on this is gorgeous. I love the way they've applied this, giving it, a very real look, a very kind of dirty look as well, which I would expect to see. And then as you move down, again, the transition between colors is incredibly smooth. You can see the legs are positioned obviously differently on this side as the dinosaur's walking along. You can see the legs are closer together over here, again wrinkling the skin up here in the stomach because both legs are now kind of pushing into the stomach, so that would be exactly what you would expect to see. You can see the girth of the stomach over here again, a really nice dark wash tying all of the coloration together. There is just so much color on these Haolonggood models. It's always incredibly impressive to me how much paintwork they include. You can see now the nail on the first side, which does have a really nice genuine sharp look to it, but then again you can see how the coloration continues to look just as it did on the first side with the bluish tones, or I mean purplish tones. Actually kind of almost has like a bluish tint to the rear foot, purple for sure for the front feet. This one almost has a little bit of a bluish tint to the back foot, which is pretty cool. But again, the paintwork continues to look extremely nice, extremely natural through the course of the entire figure. That is an absolutely gorgeous Camarasaurus. And then we also have the alternate paint variant, which honestly looks just as incredible, I would say, as the first version. But this one I would say is maybe the male, almost having like male Jurassic Park colors with that lighter tone moving along the back and the patterning and the greenish tones. But up here in the face, you can see again, you've got a little bit of like a maroonish coloration there on the top of the head. We do have the blue eyes yet again. Good bit of variation to the greens here. Again, nice dark wash applied. You can see the nostrils highlighted, the ear highlighted, as well as, also the detailing there around the mouth. You can even see, again, that little bit of a pinkish tone there kind of hiding within the mouth, which is really cool. Of course, the sculpt is definitely going to be the same on this one as it was on the first version, just different as far as the colors go. And for the most part, the colors are almost the same kind of as far as like the patterning. It's just, I shouldn't say the colors. The patterning is almost the same as far as the first version, but the colors are very different. And that's pretty common when it comes to Haolonggood. That's how they, usually do it, I would say. But you can see the striping is a whole lot darker on this one. It's a lot more visible than we saw on the first version, but you've got really nice greenish tones. You also have more of the pinkish tones kind of moving along the underside of the neck and throat and everything here moving down. You can really see, again, so much realistic color. I am super impressed with the paintwork of this. There is a little bit of like some extra material here in the chest, which is surprising, not something you often see on Haolonggood models. But as you move down, you can see, I feel like there's a little less variation of color to this one. A lot more green, obviously, but you have a whole lot more when it comes to this solid tone of color rather than the almost consistently changing colors of the other version, which I do really like. Again, the more simplistic look of this one is a really nice touch to the model, and again, also definitely helping to give it a brighter look and a more, in my opinion, male-like look. But as you move down, you can see some more pinkish tones in the lower part of the stomach. We have more of that patterning moving through. Pretty similar as far as the way that the patterning looked on the first version, same for this one, but much darker tones of color. We do transition again to a purplish tone for the feet, but a bit of a different tone of purple, not quite as dark as we saw on the other ones. The nails are now painted with, it looks like the same color, maybe even a little bit more of like a brownish tone. Slightly. Definitely looks a little bit more brown to me. But as you continue to move back, you again still have the really gorgeous greens. You have lighter tone here on the back of the leg. And then as you move up, you see that light kind of yellowish tone taper off and disappear. And then the tail is basically the green with the striping, but it then transitions to a very cool light orange tone moving out. We continue to have that striping effect and again end with a black tip to the tail. Moving along the underside, we still have like the pinkish tones, but it's not quite as dark as we had seen on the other one, and I feel like the cloaca isn't as focused on as far as the paintwork with this one. Like, it's not quite as highlighted with the pinkish tones as we saw on the first version, but we continue to again have really nice variation of color. Super impressive paintwork as per usual when it comes to Haolonggood. You can see the head again looks great over here. I think they really knocked specifically the paintwork of the heads of these figures out of the park, and that's one very important area for any dinosaur model would be the heads, and they did a great job on the heads of both of these. But as you move through, you can see the paintwork is pretty consistent to what we had seen on the first side, and I think it looks honestly great from every angle. They've done a very good job of applying all of the color, really smooth transitions, incredibly naturalistic patterning throughout, and again finding a way to keep this dinosaur looking really natural but adding in some nice flashiness to it overall. So yet another fantastic sauropod from Haolonggood. As far as a size goes, for a length from the head to the tail, about 18 3/4 inches, or around 47.5, heading toward 48 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point obviously is going to be the top of the head, and you are looking at right there in the 8 1/4 inch range, or about the 21 centimeter area. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Haolonggood Camarasaurus. And you can see that very clearly this Camarasaurus is quite impressive in the size department. Definitely, again, another very large sauropod. Not quite as large as some of the others Haolonggood has released, but still extremely impressive. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus, two figures that I quite often use for size comparisons, as well as the Schleich Diabloceratops and Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon. Again, two more totally random figures. Then when it comes to a few random Haolonggood comparisons, first of all, we have their Nasutoceratops, in my opinion, one of their best figures ever. We've also got their very popular Oranosaurus, again, nowhere near the same size as our Camarasaurus for very much so good and obvious reasoning. And of course, the same can be said for the Haolonggood Allosaurus, which is a whole lot smaller than the Camarasaurus. And then for a very impressive size comparison, we have the Haolonggood Mamenchisaurus next to the Camarasaurus, which you can see they are Again, not nearly the same size, especially when it comes to length, but the Camarasaurus is no slouch when it comes to overall size. Let's see if we can get a better position for them. So if we kind of put them neck to neck, I feel like you can get a better visual of how they size up next to each other. Insanely impressive to see so many amazing sauropod models from Haolonggood. Then we've also got a comparison with the obviously much larger Alamosaurus, but you can also see that the Camarasaurus, again, clearly nowhere near the size of the Alamosaurus, is still quite large. We've also got the recently released Haolonggood Amargasaurus. You can see both of these guys share orange tails, or at least the tips of their tails, but again, very nice comparison here with two more sauropods from Haolonggood. And we've also got the Apatosaurus as well for one final Haolonggood comparison, another unbelievable sauropod from this brand. And then one final comparison, we have the Safari LTD version of the Camarasaurus, which you can see again is definitely a little bit smaller than the Haolonggood version, but they're not too far off when it comes to a size. The Safari LTD version would be a nice one to kind of stand in as like a younger version of this family of incredibly cool Camarasaurus. So these Haolonggood Camarasaurus are far and away the best that I have in my collection. Now, of course, I don't have that many. I really only have like 2 currently in my collection, which I feel like is a bit of a travesty, at least as far as like 2 from different companies. But these, again, are still incredible. Even if it was flooded with Camarasaurus models, I feel like these would still be the cream of the crop. They are fantastic here in person. Sculpt-wise, they're as highly detailed as you're ever going to find, and of course as highly detailed as you're used to when it comes to Haolonggood. The sculpts are gorgeous when it comes to the fine details, showing off all kinds of really nice skin wrinkles, skin folds, gorgeous scale detail, extremely vibrant detail through the course of the entire figure. It also has a nice natural walking pose, nothing over the top, nothing too dramatic, which is always a good thing in my opinion. I do like some dramatic poses once in a while, but I think Haolonggood always does a great job of coming up with, you know, the sort of visual with their poses that could work in any sort of diorama, and they've definitely achieved that, in my opinion, nicely with this model. The coloration of both looks really good, really nice and natural. I love the fact that, as per usual, we have 2 different paint variants, sort of looking similar, but very different when it comes to the tones of color, and also sort of replicating what I would say would be a male and female, which is definitely something that very few companies do, and I love the fact that Haolonggood continues to do that. On top of that, the actual paintwork itself is really nice and naturally applied, maybe some of the best I've seen from Haolonggood yet, which is something I say quite often because they seem to continuously kind of one-up themselves, but I really am a big fan of the paintwork of both of these, and I think, again, all of the transitions are incredibly smooth, all of the patterning is incredibly smooth and natural, and the dark washes are applied perfectly to both. So, without a doubt, a massive recommendation from me. I feel like these are 2 absolute must-haves from Haolonggood. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab these from Lana Time Shop right now, because that is exactly where I purchased mine. So make sure you check that link, go grab these amazing sauropods, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.